Hello, Flickin' Fanatics, real ones, Flickin' family, all you guys and friends. Thanks for joining us on another Friday night Speakeasy. Here, the only thing you can predict is a good time. We are your source for news, reviews, and daily discourse. Most of the time, however, on Fridays, it is more often disorder than discourse. So please join in the conversation as we discuss life, liberty, and the pursuit of fandom. We have some awesome guests I can't wait to introduce to you in just a couple minutes. Please leave your questions and comments for myself and for our guests in the Streamlab links that we have provided right down here and also in the description of this video. Also check out the trailer reactions. It's been a couple weeks full of trailers that you can check out. We got Spider-Verse, the Marvels, I think Blue Beetle's on there as well. Oh yeah, Blue Beetle's definitely on there with Sean and his son there. So a lot of good stuff there. Check that out. And thank you for always being a part of our show. We appreciate you guys showing up. So let's get going with introducing our guests. First, right off the bat, we have Andres Ace Cabrera coming straight from First Cut and Schmodown fame. Actually, it's going to be a Schmodown night. It's going to be a little bit of a Schmodown heavy night.
Nice.
But doesn't mean we have to talk about it. It's just, if you know, you know, and you're in the know. Thanks for coming, buddy. I saw you.
Yeah.
I missed you on the Willow review because I happened to be a few days behind on that finale, so I couldn't join in the conversation. But I did watch it, and it's nice to come to a place of with positivity, because I ended up with that show being like, I don't feel like I was the target for it, but I love seeing passion for anything, whether I like it or not. I just like people being passionate about stuff. There's enough negativity and people being like on it. So
yeah,
another reason why we love having you on here, man, because like
appreciate
I don't know,
it.
we'll probably naturally talk Star Wars at some point, but like we don't have to. But I know that you are one of the really positive, enlightening, like guiding voices that we have in the Star Wars fandom. So that's good to see, good to have. And speaking of really fun people to talk to, he was on one of our last Speakeasies. We got Robert from Late to the Party. What's up, buddy? Oh, and you're still muted. Sorry.
Let's try that again. Take two. Hi guys, Ace, man. It's been ages. How have you been, dude?
It's been
good, man. Good to see you, bro.
Arizona native, right? You're up in
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're down
I'm
in Tucson.
rocking the Suns right now, bro. You know it's up.
Somehow, dude, I knew you'd be rocking that Phoenix Suns. And bro, dude, growing up, elementary school, I was diehard Phoenix Suns. Diehard. Yes. But once my team left, I just never invested in the next one. It happens with a lot of stuff I love.
D&D is my sport. Hey, buddy. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, I know that we have like the Seahawks up here and I don't know, the Sonics and stuff, but I have never been a sports aficionado.
Me neither.
Which is all the more surprising how much Ted Lasso is like my favorite show of all time.
I mean, it makes sense because there's barely any soccer in it.
The
last two episodes I was just like, soccer again? And this is like, yeah, for the show that doesn't have any soccer, huh? I was like, yeah, they saved it all till later. But the story is good enough to where it doesn't need to have the soccer, and it takes time to get up to the games.
It does. And I think one of the great things about not to toot our own horn, but like the Speakeasy show, we usually end up recommending a lot of things to our viewers and stuff that have or have not watched things. So I can't wait to get into that, because there's a show that I feel like I'm the only person in my group of friends that watches. I don't know. Have you guys seen For All Mankind at all?
What is that? I have no clue.
No.
Never heard of it.
We'll talk about it. It's on Apple TV. So if you're watching Ted Lasso already, that means you have access to it.
We do.
But anyways, just in general, how is your guys' week? What have you been doing? A couple things came out. We had Renfield. I don't know if anyone besides me saw it. I know Robert's waiting for it. But Ace, since you are our first guest on tonight's show, what have you been doing this week? What's going on in your world?
Work, definitely work. But besides that, in the pop cultural world, definitely recovering from all the Star Wars celebration days. Yeah, it took a minute, and it's crazy because this is probably not healthy, and I'm feeling it right now, probably. But I stayed up. I don't think I slept this week.
Those are weird hours.
But I went to bed like at 5 every day. Not every day, but like.
Did I see next year's going to be at Japan?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Very cool.
But I stayed up and waited for the news to come out because I was so excited about it. So.
I was curious too. I was like, Ace, how did you consume it? Like, really curious how you consumed it, because I know you're into it, man. I watched those Star Wars matches, but it makes me wonder how like everybody consumed it differently. Like if you were there, you know the trials and tribulations everybody who went had to go through, but it's like who stayed up, who did it in the morning, who filmed reactions to it, who did reviews about it, who did breakdowns, like Star Wars Explained, still rocking it from a hotel after the whole day's worth of all the stuff that they had to do. So and then being on panels and stuff. So I was curious, like you stayed up, like did you cover it as well, or is it just for your own personal knowledge you needed to know? I don't know if you guys talked about it Final Cut.
Yeah, this is just for me. Yeah, this is 100% just for me. I don't think I did a single reaction video or
Sure.
video. I did one video about it. I did a YouTube short about my excitement for the announcements and
Sure.
ranking. But that's a good question for you guys too. Ranking my excitement for the 6 projects they announced that are like new projects.
Yeah.
But I stayed up and I want to give a shout out. I mean, obviously,
what are you ranking?
yeah. But to answer your question, Star Wars Explained. They live tweeted all the panels, so every time there was a quote, an announcement, they were like, "Here comes this person. Here comes Tony Gilroy. Here comes Diego Luna. Now he's saying they're recording season 2," and then those live tweets just helped me out so much. And obviously Laura Kelly did the same, so shout out to her as well.
Sure.
But live tweeting at the panels is like, I stay up on Twitter and I'm just refreshing my feed and I'm just reacting.
Sure.
But I just do it for me. So.
That's awesome. But like with now we know you follow Star Wars Explained. Sorry, Jesse. This is like I'm curious about this.
Yeah.
Videos.
Talk about
the type of content you watch after the fact. Do you watch the trailers a whole bunch of times? Like I know you watch them multiple times, but do you keep going back? Do you watch breakdowns of it? Do you watch reactions and stuff? Do you look for vlogs of people at the place?
Yeah, I follow, honestly, yes. Yes to probably all those. Not exactly all of them. I'm not a big fan of like every single breakdown video.
Sure.
But I do watch Star Wars. To me, I mean, honestly, man, I told him, I sent him a message afterwards. I was like, dude, you're still the best in the game. Like, there's no one
Alex.
He's still the king.
Agreed.
Like,
Agreed.
Shout out to new Rockstars. They can try and keep up with Alex, but they
Sure.
can't. Like, they're good at Marvel. Like, they're the kings of Marvel. But to me, Star Wars stuff is like, they're still the best. Star Wars Explained. I watch their videos and they're very nuanced and really good takes and really good explanations. So, yeah.
I want to speak to the irony a little bit of, like you said, new rock stars and Marvel and stuff is much like Marvel kind of seems to have done in the most recent phase. I feel like new rock stars also spread themselves a little too thin. They're trying to do all these like other live shows and get other like talents involved and stuff. When I think most of us watch for Eric Voss because he's just got that charm and charisma stuff, but then they're also getting so many ads in like, which is great for them, right? More money. We all pray for ads, right? We have to, you gotta pay for your hobbies and stuff. But like it does feel like it's missing a little bit of what made it so addicting to watch. Every time there's a new trailer, you had to watch the most recent new Rockstar video, and I feel like Alex hasn't even for a second like lost focus. But I guess that's one of the blessings to having a focus on like a particular brand or genre, whereas new Rockstar is just trying to be like the king of what's pop. You know,
yeah,
it works. So I watched the hell out of new rock stars to be able to get the stuff that's a little more detailed and oriented. Like Alex, the nice thing about Alex is like, I'm not even going to go into speculation about it just for fear of you guys not like wanting to know. And where new rock stars like come to spoiler corner, but before you get there, like they've covered so much stuff. I'm like, dang, you just told everybody that before spoiler corner, but I appreciate it because I already watched the thing you're talking about. So anybody that's kind of hesitant watching it first, you're going to get spoiled. But Alex like watching those like I just want to know his impression of stuff, like the way he adds his own like commentary of stuff. It's like it's the same thing as going to Wikipedia and then there's an Alex video. I'm like, all right, Alex, put it into context for me, but add your little flavor to it. And I feel like that's what he's real good at, covering the panel as we praise Star Wars Explained.
Yeah, I think so for me, new Rockstars is still awesome and I love them, but I only kind of I don't really watch their Star Wars videos too much, mainly because I am watching Alex a little bit more and Star Wars Explained, specifically when it comes to episode breakdowns. But I do want to give a shout out because I still feel like they're the kings of everything in nerddom when it comes to YouTube. I mean, their
Like,
subscriber count,
they're like unmatched.
yeah, and it's insane. But I do want to say that I do like that they include other talent besides Eric Voss, and I know he's the king and he's the face, but I do feel like he probably thinks the same way I do, where it's important to not just keep doing your channel and be the face of your channel, but to create more talent behind the camera, talent that's different than you, that might have a different perspective. I'm very passionate about that. So I'd like, man, is it Clemens? Is that the girl who did the Marvels breakdown? I like her a lot. I like her quite a bit. And she does the Spider-Man stuff too. So
I love the one that did the Mario stuff, like, because you could just, like, these people feel like they're fans of it, like really hardcore fans, versus just putting the, type in front of Eric Voss and telling him to read stuff. Even though there was some stuff that he kind of did, like at one point, I think he even said, and I know it's a slip of the tongue and I get it, you can mess up when you're going through these breakdowns, but he said something like Luke is the father of Anakin, and I was just like, wait, what? Like, how'd that slip? Like, I thought about it for like 5 minutes. Like,
you think about how much goes into editing, and like somebody had to scrub past that. Like,
everyone missed it. But either way, not to nitpick or anything, but good. Well, he does go on some tangents where I'm like, bro, come on, really? You're connecting some stuff that I don't think needs to be connected. But I digress. He needs to fill the air, and more power to him. But what I found myself watching more of, it's like I wanted to see any footage I could get of the panel. I wanted to see the people out on the stage, especially the big panels. And the first ones that I found that had and it was literally 1 minute long of the whole panel, and it's just quick clip, quick clip, quick clip, quick, all the way through the end. So you get a taste, and you have really no clue the context of a lot of what's going on, but at least it gives me a look at the panel. I subbed to those people right away because I was like, if you're doing it this year, I'm going to look for you next year. And these are the ones that I want to invest in, because not even Star Wars was putting out their own highlights until a while after, to where you can actually see what went on the stage, being that nobody could stream it outside of the convention center. But yeah, I subbed those channels quick because I was like, I know I'm going to come to you guys every year if you're this quick at getting it right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, for me, it's I like watching these streams afterwards as well, the live streams they have. I'm a little behind on it because I dead ass watched the whole thing, which is like 4 hours. So it takes me like a couple weeks. So I'm still like on day one, watching the Andor stuff. I just finished the last floor stage interview because I watched all of those, because they have those all clipped out in separate videos.
Oh, we just scrubbed through the 4 or 5 hour live. I just scrubbed through that past the commercials and stuff.
Is anyone else get like enraged anytime you try to talk to somebody about Andor and they're like, I gave it like 3 episodes and I was bored, and I was like, I want to shake you.
No one I know.
No,
no one I know.
I got 2 close friends, and I won't call them out on it, PJ and Tim, that don't like Andor. And so like anytime we were around them and I wanted to talk about it, I felt like I hit a brick wall. So I was like, well, that conversation's done, because like you don't share the excitement that I do for what we're witnessing. And they share the opposite.
And I have all these family members that love Mandalorian, right? And so Star Wars things drops, and they're like, oh yeah, this is a Star Wars thing. And it's different. Andor is wholly unique when compared to the rest of Star Wars. And it's that uniqueness that I think makes it so special. So great. Now, it's not maybe the most fun rewatch, but like I think as far as storytelling goes, it's damn near unmatched as far as like cinematic Star Wars storytelling goes. Like I'm sure you can find something in like the comics or the novelizations or things like that, but I don't think Star Wars in live action has ever had better writing.
It's crazy how like the older I get, the more I love the bureaucracy and just the
things we make fun of the people for.
Right, it's crazy, right? We absolutely did. But yet for some reason, man, and yet the prequel lovers, diehard lovers, had a big issue with things like Andor, or that one episode, what was it, episode 5 of this season's Mandalorian, where they were on Coruscant doing their day-to-day. I love it. I love that stuff. I love the politics of it. But yet I hate politics in reality. I think because this one doesn't make me as sad as the other stuff. But yeah,
off.
Right. But I loved Andor all the way through, and I can't wait to get and or season 2, just so we get a little bit more of that.
Super quick interruption for you guys. We do have a Streamlab drop, and I don't want to leave it hanging for too long. Shug sent in $3. Thank you, Shugs. And shout out to all the awesome people on screen, all Schmodown greats, all great YouTube content creators, and great people. That is at least 3 greats. All 3 of you hold a special place. Yeah, really, really great. All 3 of you hold a special place in my heart, from the Schmodown, Ace's tournament run, how could we forget, and late to the party, and Jesse's interviews that he got to do. So thanks, Shug.
Jesse. Did you do? What do you mean interviews you got to do? Did you do interviews? Did you go and like?
Shug talked about interviewing me for when I competed.
Oh, just for you being interviewed. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I was like, did you get to go and like do a fun thing where you got to go talk to people?
No, I'm not.
Oh.
I don't get to talk to fun people. Just kidding, guys.
I love when Makuga would do that stuff, man. That was so much fun in the beginning with Josh Makuga here with the after, like when he would do his whole thing with Cody. It was a good time. Ace knows. Ace was all over that stuff back in the day. You were behind the camera there with everybody running the show, man.
One of my favorite little things I got to do is when I finally got to go down to LA and actually shoot a scene towards the end of it. Because I was part of the digital league, pretty much, like the digital Schmodown. But when they came back, I got to come down there for one match, and I got to film a scene where after being like rejected by the Quirky Mercs, I got to go against Brandon Hanna, and I just kind of improv the line like "Quirky Jerks" at the end of the scene, and then Christian walked up to me. He's like, "Actually, don't say that." And then we started filming. We filmed it once more, and then he came back to me. He's like, "Actually, do the scene again and put that back in it."
Sure. Now, Christian was really protective of like the strong brands. For instance, I'll give you a little taste of behind the scenes. When we ended up fighting Tim Franco and Stacy, there was a whole post interview where the entire corruption surrounded us in our interview, and we'd have to go back and watch it, but essentially Chance was supposed to throw a burn at us, and I flipped the burn back on him, and everyone in corruption started laughing, including Chance. He said something about your drive home is going to be, sad or whatever it was. I was like, at least we can drive home and not have to take the bus. And like it was quick, and to the point where it cut him, and everyone just started laughing at him. And then Christian was like busting up, and he's like, "All right, let's do that again, but don't say that." I was like, "Oh, like I can't." There are times where you can like get back at the bad guys, and we did that with Team Action. The one kicking your ass, but there was no way they can like cut around that because it's in the middle of the game. But post interview, Christian loved it, and everyone else did, but he didn't want to cut the bad guys that deep because he wanted them to be strong heels. Completely understand. But that's a fun moment that Christian, interfered in that aspect. Make the good look good and the bad look bad in a good way.
Okay, I don't have a really great transition, but these are some of the couple questions since I have such awesome guests on the show that I wanted to kind of use conversation starters. I mean, since you guys both have movie loving adjacent channels, First Cut obviously goes into all kinds of deep discussions about movies and stuff. And Robert, you guys watch tons of movies and react, and I feel like you're discussing movies, I'm sure, on camera and off all day. And I think one of the most fascinating things that you can ask people that do have this passion and love of movies is kind of, where did it start? When did it start? What caused it? As far as like, was there a particular movie or memory or something that sticks out? We started with Ace last time. Robert.
Good, because it popped in my head, and I know I'd forget it if I had to wait. So let's get it out while I can. My brain don't work as good as it used to. Back when I was probably 4, I believe, there was a video store on Ajo for those that live in Tucson, because I used to live on the south side of Tucson, and if you know that, south side is rough. I assume a lot of south sides are rough, but south side of Tucson was especially rough. But there was this place that I always look forward to going, and it was called Video Stop. And Video Stop I could drive you right where it is right now in Ajo, and it hasn't been a video stop since I was, a child. But I would go in there, and I just remember looking at all the movies and staying away from the place I wasn't allowed to go with the horror movies and then the adult section, because video stores had those back then, the smaller ones. And with this one, man, I just remember looking at the movies, and I got to choose between VHS and Beta. I remember they had the two that you could be able to pick. And I just remember I remember looking at the posters on the wall constantly, seeing Critters, Beetlejuice, like all these different ones that eventually came my way. But
it's a great collection.
Sure, but the earliest memory of movie I remember renting and bringing home over and over and over again was Ghostbusters. That's like my earliest memory of watching a movie in the apartment when I was like 4. Is Ghostbusters. And I remember I went to Lionel's Playworld before there was Toys R Us, and then there was Lionel's Playworld off Grant and Alvernon for those in Tucson. And I went in there, and that's where I would get my Ghostbusters toys. And little by little, I would start building up this collection that eventually evolved into the collections you see for all the kids back in the day that were diehard Ghostbusters. And that was it, man. From that point on, it was renting movies from Video Stop, which eventually closed, and we had to shift over to Blockbuster. But yeah, I'd say 4 years old was when it started for me.
Early.
That I remember.
Got that early bug.
Oh yeah.
Ace.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's similar for me. I think I was around 4 as well.
Sure.
And it also is a movie that I rented and saw at home and kind of stuck with me. It stuck with me because it scared the crap out of me. And that's Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park for me. Just scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. And ever since then, I felt like I had the movie bug, I guess. I was impacted by films. I was drenched in them where I felt every emotional scene. I felt every scary moment. So from there, we used to have, the same thing a lot of families did in the 90s, which is like, Friday movies, rent a movie. Your kid gets to pick a movie. Your parents get to pick a movie, stuff like that, where we used to go to Blockbuster and Hollywood Video. Shout out to Hollywood Video.
Yeah, I was about to say,
RIP.
Where did you grow up? Because I feel like nobody ever talks about Hollywood Video.
I grew up in South Texas.
Okay, I've been in Washington my whole life, but we had Hollywood Video, and I didn't start going to Blockbuster until like the year it closed.
Yeah,
I worked at Hollywood Video. It's the only job I ever walked out on.
Oh,
nice.
I walked out of Jimmy's.
But yeah, I felt like that's what it is. And then ever since then, obviously escalating to Star Wars is probably another huge moment when I first saw Star Wars for the first time, which was the VHS re-release 1996 or 97, I feel. When that happened, I saw that, rented those or bought them. And then in theaters, 1999, Phantom Menace, 8 years old. Changed my life.
We're close because Phantom Menace is. I know I saw a movie before Phantom Menace, but Phantom Menace is the first theatrical experience I remember.
Nice.
Yeah, it's the one. It's the one I remember the most for sure.
I remember being obsessed with it, and I had a couple older brothers, and we went to like my dad's shop, and he had like PVC, like big pieces of PVC pipe, and we would put electric tape on the middle of it and make dual like lightsabers, like Darth Maul. And then when I went to the Puyallup Fair and they're doing face paint, I wanted the Maul face paint. I was obsessed. I know I had already seen the originals before I saw Phantom Menace, but that was my first really memorable theatrical experience, and probably part of what caused me to be obsessed with movies. Everyone that's watched the show has heard some part of the story, so I don't have to go into like what caused me to be there. But Ace, did you have anything else to add?
No, I mean, I feel like that's kind of it, but I feel like, ever since Star Wars definitely had a huge impact for sure. I definitely saw some animated movies before then. I know that in theaters.
I think I saw Toy Story 2 before I saw it.
Might have been like Aladdin, Hercules, Mulan. I think those all came out before Phantom Menace. I think I saw all those in theaters. But Phantom Menace might have been the first live action movie I saw in theaters.
And I think probably as kids, we don't remember that difference of window so much as like when something was in theaters to when we're watching it at home. I think that line kind of gets kind of muddled. And I don't remember some of the early movies, whether or not I saw them in theaters or if they just appeared as VHSs on our shelf when I was watching them.
See, I was fortunate enough to where we went to the drive-in a lot. Like the drive-in was our go-to De Anza Drive-In off 22nd, and it was great. 4 big ass screens. Back then, you had the big box you put on your window. Eventually, they changed it over to the radio. But man, we went to the drive-in so much, and that's crazy how I remember movies, because I remember movies in pairs. Like I remember the 2 movies that I saw together at the same time at De Anza, so they're always like linked with each other. For instance, freaking Apollo 13 and Waterworld.
Wow.
To me are always interlinked. Crimson Day and Anaconda, or Crimson Tide and Anaconda, like linked for some, like they're always going to be stuck together for me. Booty Call and Scream. Like there was just these weird links, but that's how I remember movies, is partnered with another movie, because so many of them I watched at the drive-in, which was amazing. So good.
I only had one drive-in double feature. I only have one memory of going to the drive-in, and it was Spy Kids 3 and Freaky Friday. That's my double feature. How's that?
I still have never seen any of the Spy Kids. Ace, you a big Spy Kids fan?
I definitely saw all of them.
Okay.
I actually take that back. I think I missed 3.
Sure.
But I definitely saw the first 2 in theaters for sure.
I mean, Spy Kids 3D is just Quantumania.
Yeah, there you go. And I didn't like Quantumania, so it's
yeah. Wasn't a huge fan of it either.
Womp womp.
Shark Boy and Lava Girl, though, that's where it's all at.
Oh yeah,
which was also Quantumania.
Yeah, who doesn't want to see Taylor Lautner sing?
Bro, I watched all the freaking True Blood, same thing.
True Blood,
Twilight movies. It was like the first movie reactions we're doing on our channel. I agreed to watch all of them back to back and film reactions to them. So yeah, Taylor Lautner can do worse than singing on camera.
Oh yeah, it's called the Ridiculous Six, whatever, the Adam Sandler movie.
I haven't seen that one either.
Oh, that is the worst thing I've seen Taylor Lautner do. Forgot where I was going.
People love those Adam Sandler Netflix movies, though, dude. Like my family.
Netflix is no, people actually, real people do.
Yeah, my family, dude. They're like, that's like my mom. She called me, and she's like, "Have you seen Pixels?" And like she's done this twice. She forgot she did it the first time, and she did it to us again. And she's just like, "Have you seen Pixels? Like it's so funny. I was laughing at blah blah." And she's telling me who's in it and all that stuff. I'm like, I'm aware what it is. I know who's in it. I just have not seen it.
I have. It's terrible.
She loves it. She loves it. So now I'm like, shit. Well, I'll put Pixels on the Adam Sandler list, and we'll see what happens. If everybody loves it, then I'll force myself to watch it. Those are fun experiences too, by the way.
They can be.
Sure.
Here's a big one for you guys. What made you want to discuss movies on the internet? Where did that start? Who inspired you?
I was talking back to the screen too much. When I would watch Real Rejects and freaking, I don't even want to say the other one that I watched because I don't like him anymore. So like he's gone very terrible. So screw that. But yeah, with the Real Rejects, like you find yourself talking back to the personalities that you're Christian, Campia, Schnepp, Ellis. Like the old school AMC theater days, the freaking Schmoes Know movie show. Like I would be laughing and throwing my stuff, or if they threw a quote out, I'd finish the quote, or I'd be all excited because I knew where it was from. I still remember to this day, Christian during a movie talk said, "There's a buoy, there's a buoy," and I lost my I was up out of my chair because I know that reference. Nobody else knows that reference, but I know
the real specific ones. It's the times where AMC movie talk and things like that can make you feel at home. That belonging.
Sure. That's how I knew I loved Christian, because he hit me with 2 completely different episodes from 2 movies that are on the same level, and they're those deep cuts where I'm like, holy crap, and he did it, yama 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 yama. Those 2 quotes, I was like, I love that man, and I was just like, I knew I had to be putting my love for those kinds of quotes online because other people will find them and will all connect to those quotes. That's what made me want to do it.
Ace, how about you?
It's hard to remember, if I'm being honest, but I do remember the OGs: Chris Stuckman, Jeremy Johns, Schmoes.
Jeremy Johns from up here, by the way.
Yeah. I feel like that's what it was. Obviously, Schmoes. If you guys remember SourceFed, SourceFed was fun. I thought they were a lot of fun for sure. So, and obviously joining them in 2015, I was there for a lot of it.
Did you guys ever watch Movie Buzz with like Rallis? Peter Rallis, I think his name was. That was the first thing. Like I saw that, and it made me want to join like a journalism class in high school and start writing movie reviews and then start recording them. And it was like shortly after high school, I started like I multiple times attempted to start a podcast. One lasted like 2 months, one lasted 4 years, and then like this one's actually survived.
So when I was the movie reviewing, I actually have had for like my whole life. When I was in 6th grade, there were the newspaper, the Tucson Citizen. They did a thing every summer called the Kids Critics, where they would pick 12 or 14 kids to go watch movies. They would send them to press screenings and early screenings, and then they got to write a review in the living section of the paper. And the 6th grade, I did a review and I sent it in, and I got picked, and I had to go down and take pictures with like at the paper. That's and then rad. Yeah, they sent us to like the screenings. I got to go to all the advanced screenings and then sit in the press section. And then from then on, I was just like, whoa, like that's my destiny, is to talk about movies. But nobody ever talked about movies on my level, like around school. Like nobody really cared as much. Same. So it was crazy, like when you end up finding the network online of people that do. But then high school, dude, I hit Tim Franco. Like me and Tim Franco ended up in a class, and it's crazy because we were in different academies, and we hit in one class, and then we never saw each other again. And I didn't see him again till like, dude, 10 years later when he became my boss at Best Buy. And then he was like, you don't remember me, do you? I was like, no. And he's like, Tim Franco, we took government together at Amphi High School. And I was just like, holy crap. And he quoted Cannibal the Musical in like my yearbook and stuff. And so I was just like, dude, like we were destined to be friends, but our paths just did not cross until way later again in life. And ever since then, we've been inseparable.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've solely based the people I surround myself with on this channel on their love of Man of Steel.
I like Man of Steel. It's a good flick.
No, it's like an ironic joke. It's totally not intentional, but like me, Sean, and Scott, we probably all take a bullet for Man of Steel. Not feeling that way about a lot of the things that came afterwards, but like that's the hill we'll die on, is that first one.
So I made the very hard decision to decide in my brain that I know it's blasphemous and it's going to get hate. I actually prefer the Hans Zimmer score for Man of Steel than John Williams's Superman score. And like, it's one of those things that I could go to the mat for why I like it more so. Like there's an aspect, and I'm not going to get into it because obviously that's like a whole thesis that I'd have to try and figure out. But
first, I'm flicking real.
Sure. And the reason why I don't like, there's an aspect of the Superman theme that I don't like. And I think it comes from my childhood as well, because my dad always did it and it annoyed the hell out of me when he would do it. And I just didn't like that part of it. However, the flip side of the John Williams score, I love to death. But the other part kind of brings it down a bit. And the Hans Zimmer one, man. And then seeing that live with Hans Zimmer freaking playing, dude, like it totally passed different. It for me.
The bum 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 is very tra la 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 la.
That's what I'm not a. The one I love is the. Okay, my dad would do the bum 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 bum. I don't like that one, but I do love the. Like I love that part of the score.
I just think, and like John Williams, God amongst men, right? If we're talking about entireties of score, I think the entirety of the Man of Steel score is stronger than the entirety of the Superman score. Obviously, that theme has lasted and gone on, but there's other than when that theme kicks in, I don't feel like there's a lot of memorable moments of music as much. But Ace, how do you feel about Superman?
Oh, I mean, that's only my favorite superhero.
There it is.
I love Superman is my favorite. I grew up with the animated series. I grew up with Superman, the animated series. I think that might have been the first one because a lot of people did with the Batman animated series, but I think I was too young for that. Superman, the animated series, was the first one I saw.
Into like the Justice League, which
exactly,
is
which rolls into Justice League Unlimited. It just changed my life. It made me a hardcore Superman fan, hardcore DC fan. My brother and I are the biggest fans, and we both have like matching keychains with the Superman logo on it. So yeah, he's my favorite.
We're all, super geeks here. What are some of the things that started like not just your movie fandom, but like geek fandom? Because I can really quickly say that it was near the same time, but it's growing up with like a lot of reruns, but like the X-Men 90s cartoon, the Spider-Man 90s cartoon. I didn't have the channel that aired Batman. When I was growing up, I had like 3 to 5 channels, and none of them had Batman. I had Fox, and so Fox had Spider-Man, X-Men, Gargoyles, I think, and some other.
That's exactly mine. Mine is Spider-Man, X-Men, watching those as a kid, and then eventually, as I said, Superman and Justice League. I feel like that's probably where it started. Obviously, Star Wars as well. Watching the movies, but yeah.
I got this for you guys. It's the little Superman key.
Oh yeah.
I bought this for Sean for Christmas, and I haven't gone to the post office.
No, it's yours now.
Yeah.
Sean surrendered it.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to the I don't know, the geekdom that kind of overtook, man, it came to the toys. So for me, it was really building up that Ghostbusters collection, He-Man collection, G.I. Joe collection, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collection.
One of the best intros of all time.
Sure. And those same supplement with the TV shows where that was like the world, and it was the playing on the playground with the toys, going to the park and, playing with all the figures, getting the play sets, putting yours together with other people's and playing with them. And I feel like that's really what threw me into the geekdom, was because that's what you were going to look for and collect. And, you got to have these certain figures. And then it was the video games, dude. It was a 1-2 punch for me and Nintendo. In fact, Vanessa and I just bit the bullet and we got like the expansion pack for the Nintendo Switch. Jesse, we were talking about that, how like the Switch, and I didn't have it yet. I hadn't invested in like the membership aspect, but I did. Like we pulled the trigger, and dude, Vanessa and I were playing Sega, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy. Like we were doing we did a whole thing of Mario Party. Get this, I'm number 1 the entire game, and Vanessa, who was basically last the entire time. Yeah, and she freaking beat me. Like she totally stomped, and everything went her way in the end. And it was like in the last 5 moves, dude, she just came up and took it, dude. And it was formidable. But at the same time, dude, we were playing all those consoles. And I feel like just being as a kid in Nintendo, again, you add those games into the video store. Like, I don't want to go out and play sports. I wanted to go home and play my video games. I did play sports, unfortunately. But I went back and, it was about those games on the weekend, going to the video store Friday night, renting a video game, and wanting to do the toys and the games and the movies. Man, it was a triple threat of geekiness when it ignited.
And I'm sure we are probably all, maybe I don't speak for all of us, but of a certain age where you play that initial Halo theme and some nostalgia might come back from after school days, but I don't know if that's for everybody.
Dude, I never played Halo. I never had an Xbox. I had the PlayStation 2, yeah. And
the first time I can ever remember that, that moment where you play a game so long you look over and it's daytime and it was nighttime, that was Halo. Because I did get the Xbox. I was Xbox. I waited in line, got the 360 when that dropped. Eventually to get the PlayStation. Now currently we're just a PlayStation household, PS5. But when it came to Halo, that was the one, dude, where I was in it. And next thing I know, man, I look over, I'm like, holy crap. And it was daytime already. And I was just like, I just started playing, and I just played all through the night to beat it. And I think I stayed up until I beat it. But it was a great game and great music and fun story. And then I dipped out after 2.
Not one of the best adaptations I've seen.
I dipped out after episode 7.
It's probably roughly about when I tapped out too. I kept trying to give it a benefit of the doubt, and I was like, this is actually like upsetting.
Sure. I mean, I know some people liked it. It was for somebody. It just wasn't for me. But again, I said I tapped out after the second game. I didn't do Reach. I didn't do 3. I hardly did the online unless it was with friends. And in fact, I still remember hooking up multiple TVs in different areas of the house, one in the dining room, one in the living room. We had them linked together so we can play. And I just remember it was 4-on-4. And you would hear our buddy in the living room shouting, "They're in the hills! They're in the hills!" in Blood Gulch, and we're all cracking up, trying to he sees us, because we weren't watching each other's screens. But fond memories of Halo. But yeah, I gotta say, man, PlayStation eventually won my heart. It eventually won me over, and that PS5, dude, I love it. Partly because, dude, I had nothing but trouble with breaking Xboxes. Like the red ring of death, and right now the other one just doesn't start, and it's like I'm done. I haven't had that issue with PlayStation, so
I still have a one Xbox One, and I actually recently got a 4. One thing I was going to say is funny when you're talking about getting the Xbox is what broke me to finally make me get a 360 isn't what it was for most people. I went into a game store and like a GameStop, and they had a demo for Skate 3. And I played it in the demo. You get to play for 15 minutes or something, and that starts over. I was in that GameStop for 2.5 hours playing that demo. And so then I, saved up what I could and got an Xbox and got Skate, and Halo came afterwards.
What were your games there, Ace, for the PlayStation?
That was the next question.
Which one? PS2? Probably
Pass through the pantheon of your PlayStation.
Yeah, the ones that hooked you.
I started with N64, which was Super Smash,
my first console,
GoldenEye.
Jet Force Gemini. Did anybody else play Jet Force Gemini?
I remember it. I didn't play it though.
Okay.
But yeah, I played those games obviously, and then from there, PS2, I went to Tekken Tag Tournament. Was the game that I got with the PS2, and I played that like crazy.
My favorite fighting game of all time.
Yeah, it still is. I still play Tekken. I still play Tekken 7. And I'm excited for Tekken 8, but I feel like that might have been... Oh, yeah, the wrestling games. How can I forget? SmackDown versus Raw. Yeah. That was amazing. Here Comes the Pain. No one?
Know Your Role.
Yeah. Those were my games.
We are mortal enemies.
Oh, yeah. I played it... I played Mortal Kombat when I was much younger, but then I never got the chance to. I was never allowed to.
Did you ever do No Mercy on the N64, WWF No Mercy, or WrestleMania 2000? Ooh, dude. Or what about WCW NWO? No, dude. Oh, I mean, SmackDown. I think SmackDown, the SmackDown games and SmackDown versus Raw versus SmackDown, I think they got it right in transitioning that style of gameplay over. But there was just something about the boxiness of the N64, dude, that was it was perfect. And I can't wait for that new AEW game to come out because they're trying to go back to that. So we'll see how it plays out, though.
I played a little bit of one of these new what are they called? Something K. What are the new wrestling games called?
2K. I have
no idea.
2K.
I don't like it. I think it's awful. I feel like it's way better 10 years ago.
Did you ever do Twisted Metal?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was PlayStation 1, right?
PlayStation, yeah. I mean, it kept going. They had a Twisted Metal Black for the PS2 or 3. I don't remember, but
I was just thinking of that because, man, I go into some crazy reaches in my head. But you guys watch Succession?
We don't.
My wife has got all caught up. I haven't seen it yet.
So someone said this guy's weird. He's like Chuckles the Clown. And for some reason, I thought of the clown from Twisted Metal. I forget his name. Sweet Tooth. Yeah. And he used to say some quote, you scream, I scream, something, I scream. I forget what it was.
Sure.
But I remember that. And I remember he would creep me out as a kid. But yeah, Twisted Metal was legendary.
Was that your version of Pennywise growing up?
Yeah, for real.
Sweet Tooth versus Pennywise. I remember a while when people were trying to talk about console exclusives for Mortal Kombat and who they should have, and they already did Kratos in Mortal Kombat 9. So when they're talking about the new ones, they're talking about they should put Sweet Tooth in there. We're still all waiting for Ash Williams to make his way into Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, man, we spent way too much money on those characters.
I feel like Pennywise would actually be kind of gangster in
A lot of
Mortal Kombat.
The It movies coming out and Pennywise already being WB owning NetherRealm and Mortal Kombat.
That's a layup.
Where's that? Like, seems
That'd
like
be sweet.
Yeah, that's weird that they don't do that then if they are under the same umbrella, because you would figure
not even a rights issue.
Yeah, that's definitely money in the bank right there.
And there's 100 things you could do with Pennywise as a fighting character.
Oh yeah, you could do dance moves. You could
turn into a spider.
Hypnotism,
transformation. Yeah, you can change into a whole bunch of. Do the thing with the lights come down and get your character to just stand there while you take them out.
You do scares for different people.
Do his laugh.
Nowadays, it's just his mouth opening up like all the way.
That'd be cool too.
It writes itself. WB, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Give me a sec, guys. I gotta step. Just 1 sec. I gotta grab something.
All right.
Ace just goes over to the WB lot to get.
No.
Here's the information. I got an idea. Yeah, okay. So I did something stupid, right? When we first got the most recent Mortal Kombat I want to say it's for the PS5. I think you could get it with the PlayStation, but it may have been for 4. I don't know. Either way, we own it. And we were going up and buying up all like the characters.
Crossplay or not? Because if it is, let's get that going at some point.
What do you? What's that? Oh, crossplay.
I feel like 11 was crossplay.
I mean, if it works on 5 to 4, then yeah, we got 5. We got 5.
I have it on the Xbox, but maybe I'll get it for the PlayStation. I don't know. But 12 is supposed to be getting announced here soon. I think they're skipping Injustice, which upsets me.
Yeah, that's weird. But so I was buying up like all the DLC characters and stuff, and then I accidentally bought Shao Kahn. But you get Shao Kahn like in the game later, and so I was just like, God damn it! Like, I had to buy a character that I got for free anyway, so I wasted money. You're welcome, WB.
Yeah,
taking the extra cash.
We've never wasted our money on WB. I'm looking at you, Black Adam.
Hey man, you gotta break a couple eggs to make an omelet, and they ended up breaking a whole truck of eggs.
That was terrible. It was terrible.
It happens, but I don't know. That the Rock was the Rock. I mean, the Rock was just too pushy with that character when he didn't have the position that the character itself didn't have the position to hold as high as the Rock wanted him to be. So
it's weird how much my favor of Dwayne Johnson has shifted in like a 12-month period.
Right.
Like
I do see him a little differently.
A little bit of a Hollywood bully, if you will. But there's worse things to be out there. Some people are headlighting films coming out in a couple months that probably have done worse.
But then you got to remember, man, it's The Rock. We saw him throw Steve Austin off a bridge and chuck his belt in the water. Like, The Rock has always been, a rough and tough type dude, no nonsense. So I just got to, granted, yeah, you shouldn't act that way in real life, but it's also a persona when it comes to that position. Like, you got to play the game to get ahead.
His brand.
And I just feel like he played the game, and guess what? People didn't show up for it, and that happens. If they showed up for it, the dude would have been all aces. No pun intended. You're cutting off Ace's head.
Well, I'm trying to get back under his name.
Okay, go back up here.
Yeah, I'm Team Rock. I'm probably always gonna do that, but that's just me.
You know his most underrated movie, in my opinion? Walking
Rundown.
Tall. Rundown is also there, but Walking Tall. People remember the Rundown though.
I love the Rundown.
Saw the Rundown. Nobody saw Walking Tall. Nobody talks about Walking Tall.
I saw the original.
Oh, I didn't see the original.
Joe Don Baker busting people with a 2x4. I never saw the Rock one though. I saw him busting up people at a casino, and I was like, I like Joe Don Baker, and then I stopped.
It also had Neil McDonough, is that his name, right? Dum Dum Dugan from Captain America, amongst many other things.
Yeah.
What's his name in Arrow? Damien Dark? Wasn't he Damien Dark?
Yeah.
Damien Blood? No,
there's Brother Blood and Damien Dark.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, right. Man, that's a conversation. How long did either of you last on the CW verse?
I think 4 seasons of Arrow.
Yep.
4 seasons of Arrow, and then 2 seasons of Flash for me.
I'm kind of the opposite. I got 3.5 into Arrow. It's when they got into the big Ra's al Ghul Lazarus Pit stuff that it felt so far removed from Green Arrow that I left. And then Flash, I watched 4 seasons of, I think. 3 was like unbearable. For some reason, I gave 4 a chance, had fun. 5 looked bad. I was out. Legends of Tomorrow, I got like less than a handful of seasons into.
I got 1 episode of Legends of Tomorrow. I was like, I see what you're doing. Have fun. And then I
Doom Patrol did it better.
Yeah, I didn't see Doom Patrol, but a lot of people were telling us we should watch Doom Patrol.
That would be a great reaction. You would just have to blur out a lot of reaction.
Dude, we cover The Boys. I'm used to it.
Okay, all right. You can figure it out.
I feel like DC is still like low-key my bread and butter. Like I've said this a million times. I think I've tweeted this like 20 times just in case someone from Warner Brothers sees it. But if I ever would work for some studio, I would want to work for Warner Brothers because I know like DC characters like the back of my hand. Like to me, that's my specialty, which is why I was so excited about the announcements. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say like 90% of my comics are like, as much as I talk about Marvel, I'm a DC guy.
Yeah, me too. All my comics are DC
comics. I felt like James Gunn was speaking to me because he's like, Phase 1, Gods and Monsters. I was like, when I have a phrase that I use to describe why I prefer DC, it's because it's mythic and it's the tale of gods and monsters. So the fact that James Gunn seems like narrowing on that, I was like, hey, that might not be for everybody, but I felt like he just narrowed in on exactly what I want. So as the resident huge Superman fan, are you highly anticipating Superman Legacy with James Gunn behind it?
Yeah, I if I'm being honest, I'm super cautiously optimistic because it's just nerve-wracking. I don't know what it is. It's just like
you've been hurt so much. It's an abusive relationship. Being a DC fan is an abusive relationship.
I think that's what it is for sure. And it's also the Superman one for some reason I do have faith in. Hoping James Gunn doesn't go too James Gunn. I love like Guardians is still my favorite Marvel movie.
Well, I think Suicide Squad's one of the best DC movies in the last little bit.
I agree. I love the Suicide Squad, but I did notice some moments where I was like, all right, I would have taken that out.
Reel it in, James. Reel it in. Yeah, it's like how Multiverse of Madness was very Sam Raimi. The Suicide Squad is very James Gunn.
But I do have faith. I do have faith for sure.
I just think back to Super. Like we were talking about Super this morning, and it's like, dude, that was where I was just like, this dude's on a whole nother level when it came to like superhero movies. It felt like, it felt like Kick-Ass, the same way I felt when I saw the first Kick-Ass. And so when they were like, James Gunn's doing the Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, cool, like, let's do it. Like, I'm all for it. And so I've trusted him ever since. Now we're getting a third Guardians of the Galaxy. And even though part of me, and I know you're a huge fan of Superman, part of me is like, do we have to start with Superman again? Like, I was just kind of open to go somewhere else with it. But when it's James Gunn's the one directing it, I'm like, dude, I trust you. Like, I'll see what you do. Well, let's go for it. I'll never not go because it's a Superman again. It's your Superman story. I want to see what you do with it. But part of me does kind of wish they would figure out a different way to ignite it.
I think they started off on the right foot with the DC universe, and maybe that's not a popular opinion, but they didn't have a plan. It's like they did Man of Steel, and they're like, now we have to catch up to Marvel. James Gunn clearly has a plan laid out. He's like, I have a whole story that we want to tell, and these are how we tell the story with these pieces. And I love how, like, he says he has a plan, but like the titles that we're getting are so diverse. It's like we have Superman Legacy, we have Batman introducing Damian Wayne, and then the Swamp Thing. I was like, yes, all of these things sound like things that we haven't gotten before. Like even the way he wants to tell Superman sounds unique. And I love Swamp Thing. And my hope is like, I'm such a Constantine fanboy that if there's anything that like hints at the concept of getting more Constantine or Justice League Dark, which how many times has Justice League Dark almost been like in production or like had a script and like fallen through with Guillermo del Toro or whoever else? I want it bad. And maybe by the time we get around to it, Guillermo del Toro will be free to do it again.
Yeah, if there's one thing I would greenlight at DC right now, it would 100% be like its own Justice League Dark universe. Like have it be its own universe, a magic universe where you have so many magical users in the DC universe. Like I tweeted about this again because I'm so obsessed with the magical side of the DC universe that I feel like it's so underrated. That I was very disappointed that it wasn't part of the announcement. There's a lot of that stuff in there where I'm like, I really hope it works out because I like Damian, but you're starting with Damian is kind of a bold move, pun intended. A brave and bold move. Because I was like, it's gonna be Tim. It's gotta be Tim. It's gotta be Tim, and it's not Tim. And I was like, damn it, Tim Drake, man, once.
And maybe I'm being too optimistic. I'm hoping that starting with Damian means that we have the other Robins, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Damian is my favorite little shithead in comics. Like I was watching some animated movies recently with Damian, and I was like, God, I hate you. I love you so much.
Was it the Superman Sons one? The Super Sons?
I actually haven't seen that one yet. It's mostly like the Son of Batman, Batman versus Robin, and then like the Titans movies they did.
Yeah.
Which is a huge deficit for us because I feel like aside from Flashpoint, Paradox, and Arkham, I think it was like the Assault on Arkham. Like we haven't seen, we haven't like in comics we definitely haven't gone through because I was more X-Men and Alien growing up.
On DC now, X-Men was the start of my comic book love.
But I would say show wise, you're right. Like it was Superman the animated series for me, Batman the animated series. I watched the hell out of that on WB back in the day, Animaniacs, and then Batman the animated series. But with the movies that they've all released for the different iterations of the comic stories, like we haven't been. I remember seeing like Son of Batman, the cover. I could still see the cover in my head, but it's just there's so many of those stories that we don't know. So it's either we watch those or we let James Gunn tell us the story. And the games, of course, the Arkham games. Played the hell.
Just gotta wait for the Real Rejects to wrap up. I think they're almost done doing all the DC animated movies.
Sure.
Right now it's our time to shine.
Which was clever. You're doing it with Corey Jandreau. Like that's if you're gonna have anybody with you to experience those stories.
Well, it's such a perfect blend. Not to toot somebody else's horn too much, but like Corey Jandreau, super comic fan, not into animation. And so like forcing him to like watch all the animated movies based off of stuff that he's probably read, I thought was like a great blend or dichotomy or whatever. But they're excellent. It's so ironic to me that DC's animation has been like on like a high mark for so long, and their live action just can't get it together. Like I could not believe that Assault on Arkham came out, and I was like, wow, I hope the Suicide Squad is like this, the first one. And it wasn't even a percentage as good as the Assault on Arkham animated movie. And I was like, you had a movie that was like an hour and 15 minutes, told a nice, tight, perfect story, and then you had like shy of 2 hours or something, and you have a bloated, ridiculous mess. Like, it's why?
It's a lot. It's we've done it on First Cut a lot, where we do deep dives into like the DC universe and the Warner Brothers world.
Hey, if you do another
time,
buddy, and you want to guest, I will DC you all day. Like that's my bread and butter.
Yeah, the leadership in Warner Brothers during that time. I mean, their stories are bountiful. You could find them anywhere now, but they were awful, like awful. Did not care about story at all. The whole story behind Justice League is just a nightmare, and the whole like keep every movie under 2 hours thing is another stupid thing that leaked out of that front office that they have there. But it's just a disorganization mess over there. So I think that's why James Gunn was brought in, and that's why he was so passionate about course correcting. So,
and you got to imagine he's had so many talks with Feige over the years, and probably still ongoing, because Kevin Feige at the end of the day he's a nerd, he's a geek, he's a fan. He's talked about how much he loves Star Wars. I know he loves DC Comics and stuff. Like people just think because he runs Marvel that's all he cares about, and that's just not true.
The crazy thing is, it's like if you can be the visionary, like why wouldn't the visionaries like cooperate in a sense of just like how to construct and organize things? Like
two kids playing in a sandbox, and one person's got like GI Joes and the other person's got a He-Man. You both got cool toys. They can play together.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And guess what? If someone has way cooler toys than you, that's the one you want to play with. So I do feel like, if James Gunn is truly a DC visionary in the sense that he sees how it can go and the plan, lay it out, and, he's got somebody right there at his side to be able to kind of like help in a way, but not, it's better for, like they even said, it's better for everybody if the other succeeds as well, just like James Gunn said recently. Like if they're doing good, DC's doing good, just because people are enjoying the 1-2 punch of shows versus getting burnt out on bad movies and not wanting to go see the other ones just because they got a bad taste in their mouth in the superhero world. So if they're both banging and putting out some, awesome movies and everybody wants to go see the next one, that keeps the hype up for Marvel and DC. But I just feel like
kind of need a boost right now.
Oh, yeah.
Marvel and DC neither have come out with something that was like truly exceptional in a while. I think the best, most recent thing we've gotten is Wakanda Forever. I thought was pretty dang good, but it wasn't like, I don't know if it's going to last as, iconic.
It was just, that was a tragedy that was, unfortunately propelling that story in the sense, it's just like the Dark Knight Rises, you lost a very big part of probably the trajectory your story was going. They were saying the Joker was supposed to be in that third one. And you got to regroup. You got to totally change things up and struggle through any sort of loss that you're feeling, especially with the cast. So for them to be able to pull that off, it wasn't the plan, man. There would have been so much more joy and happiness to all of them getting to move forward, but that ain't life. So they had to adapt like all of us do when it comes to stuff like that. So I respect the hell out of them for that and being able to pull it off in a sense that this wasn't their plan, this wasn't their trajectory, but they had to deal with the punches, unfortunately. And it's just everything else around it that is just lacking some sort of passion. I know they're all passionate, they're very hardworking, but it's just weird. Like one of the things that killed me was we were watching this behind the scenes of, it was like this featurette on Disney Plus for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And they had the writer and he was talking about, okay, so I wrote into this part of the story and I didn't have any idea where I was going to go next. So I just decided to look into things that nobody has touched yet. And I came across, what was their name? The group with Professor X, what was it? The Illuminati? So he's like, and I saw the Illuminati, I was like, dang, I don't want anybody else to have those. So I put them in the movie. It's like, that's how you pick the story, the way you were going to go. You work yourself into a corner, don't know how to get out of it. They're focusing like TV where they write a season and then they don't think of the next season because they're like, all right, writer's room, we'll come back, we'll figure out a way out of it. And it's like, no, dude, like that's how you guys are doing it. You're treating the whole movie like, oh, let me put this in there before somebody else does. Did it serve the story or you just did it because you didn't want anybody else to do it? So that's where it's like, that's how it feels right now with a lot of the stuff that's going on. But I'm hoping there's a course correct and that we're going to get a resurgence, especially with what's going on with DC.
Well, I definitely want to give Ace a chance to speak, but I'll say the one thing that I have said over and over again. To me, that Marvel, DC, whatever it is, these movies are really like comic books in the way that you go into a comic book store and you might see a cover that you like or something, read the comic, you might not like it. Do you give up on comics or the whole brand as a whole? No. You pick up a new comic, try something else. And so maybe we've had a few that we've picked up, taken a look at, not our favorite, but your favorite one could always be around the corner. And I think people are like way too extremist about and overreactionary about when a film disappoints them, especially in a genre, whether it be Star Wars and stuff. Like, people didn't like Rise of Skywalker. Oh, Star Wars is terrible forever now. It's ridiculous. Got Andor, and it's just like, there's going to be different things for different folks. And like, I love the Suicide Squad. I know people that thought it was unwatchable. So it's,
Yeah. I mean, I feel the Star Wars fandom is like, that's a whole different, I could do a 2-hour lecture on Star Wars fandom.
I got to find out how bad the Lord of the Rings fandom is. I didn't know that was a toxic fandom until this year.
Oh yeah, it is. It's pretty bad. I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan at all.
Me neither.
But I found out that you guys are pretty bad. Definitely still Star Wars fans, man. We're just like the worst, the absolute worst. But yeah, I feel like when it comes to Marvel, though, it's different. Usually fandom is pretty balanced, or it's mostly positive, I want to say.
Unless it's the Marvel or anything with Brie Larson, then you get to find that side of the internet.
Yeah, I think that's my thing. I think my thing is like the unnecessary, weird attacks on certain films. I loved Captain Marvel, and then when people come up to me or when I hear podcasts, just movie podcasts, and they're just like, the worst Marvel movie is Captain Marvel, and then they're like, but Quantumania was a lot of fun, and I'm like, what? How can you guys be like, Quantumania is a lot of fun, but Captain Marvel's awful, and I can't even watch it? I'm like, to me, that's where I'm like, all right, something needs to be said. We need to be talking about something, because clearly something's off, because I thought that movie was bad.
I saw someone was doing a tier list. I think it was before Quantumania, might have even have been before the one before that, but they were just doing Marvel ranking, and I was like, yeah, these are fun sometimes when you don't know how somebody feels about a Marvel movie. And they started off the very bottom of their list, last place, Shang-Chi. I turned the video off. It's objectively incorrect. Like, I'm sorry, go to like Rotten Tomatoes or just like the general consensus. It doesn't have to be your favorite, but there's no way that is the least tolerable Marvel movie.
Yeah, I feel like Marvel definitely leads to, again, I've talked about this a lot on my channel, take a step back and see what is good and what makes your movies good. I mean, their last great movies, probably Endgame, that movie's 3 hours and 5 minutes long. Like, they're kind of... Oh, No Way Home. Yeah, I guess that counts. But I always count it as Sony in my head, in my head canon. But that movie's like 3 hours long, and so is Spider-Man No Way Home. It's like 2.5 hours or 2:40. Yeah. So I feel like this obsession with making movies like $150, Love and Thunder, Multiverse of Madness, like all Quantumania, all these movies are like $150, an hour and 50, an hour and 50, and I'm just like, just give it 15 more minutes and write something better. Just give me a few more emotional scenes so I can care.
Let it marinate.
Yeah. They're just writing extended television episodes is what they're doing. And the problem is they're treating them like it. Like I said, man, they're writing it like television because they know they're continuing on the other stuff. So they just write themselves into these, well, how are we going to figure it out? That's for the next writer's room to figure out. And they just don't, I feel like they're just too afraid and gun shy to really push the limits of their characters. And I don't know, man. It's weird what's happened to just Marvel in the last, couple of years. I understand the pandemic, everything did change, especially how a lot of these movies were created. But like the story just doesn't feel like it's there as it was, at least engaging to me. And it could be the length, like you said, it could be because they're investing in such a short approach to it. That feels like the TV shows, when it could be something a little bit greater. But yeah, it's been a while since we got that really great Marvel movie. Granted, you don't see me breaking my computer and yelling and throwing things because of it.
Shut off. Move on.
This is the extent of the energy I expel when it comes to me disliking a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, all right. And then I move on because why?
Talking about the length of movies and like the last great one, I'll say it. I know I'm in the vast minority. Eternals is like my favorite Marvel movie since Endgame.
Well, now you're wrong.
It resonated hard with me. I saw it 3 times in theaters.
Nice.
It's the most I felt emotionally. It's weird. People said like, "Oh, I was so emotionally detached." I was so emotionally attached to that story. But again, Ace, I said to you, I love the gods and monsters and the mythos things. And Eternals is the most mythic Greek Marvel film, and so like it felt like Olympus and stuff, and like so I was super into it. Who
was your favorite in that movie?
It's hard. I love Makari so much, but I also took 3 years of sign language, so I have like an affinity for anytime there's representation in film. I think it's so cool. And then Druig, so obviously like them together, and like Druig, you think going into it's gonna be the villain, but like Barry Keoghan. I love Barry Keoghan just so much. He's like the best part of Banshees, which is an all-around great movie as a whole. And I will admit that they didn't give Cersei very much to do for how much focus they put on her, and I think everyone agrees that the one person whose name I always forget, little one.
Sprite.
We all agree Sprite's the worst character. Like, I think that's the one unanimous thing that everyone hates Sprite. Even though I understand her character, like what she was doing and stuff, but I was like, go away. I'm glad that they're aging you out so that you won't be in the next one.
Yeah.
Or should just be older.
Maybe.
Could be. Yeah. I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay. It's definitely not bad or the worst movie ever or whatever.
It just didn't deserve to be their first rotten movie on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that's definitely weird for sure. Considering there's so many bad ones. Yeah.
It was the first. We brought in the I don't know, Marvel fatigue, I guess. People started rating them a lot harder. It was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah. I feel like this year though, I'm excited for this year. I'm excited for Guardians coming up in 2 weeks already.
It's coming.
And then Marvels as well. I'm excited for that one for sure.
What am I missing? So Marvels is in November.
Yeah.
Guardians is in May. Secret Invasion is before the Marvels.
I think so, yeah.
What's the movie after the Marvels?
I have no idea.
I don't know
clue.
I'm trying to think about filming. Blade's supposed to be filming or start filming soon. And they said Mia Goth is going to be in Blade, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm nervous about Blade. As a hardcore Blade fan that I am.
Because it's PG-13 and it's had 3 or 4 rewrites and
yes.
director changes.
Yes.
Mahershala Ali was probably in his early 40s when that movie was announced.
He's gonna be 60 when it comes out. I'm definitely nervous about it, but we'll see.
Well, the problem is, man, Blade already killed it. With Blade 1 and Blade 2. Blade 2 is
so
especially
good.
Blade 2 is perfection, where it's you guys can walk away. You created a masterpiece. But then they went for 3. 3 wasn't terrible, but it's after 2, and 2 is incredible. So I just don't know where they could really come up with a good Blade.
Favorite cinematic insults as delivered by Ryan Reynolds, and I won't repeat them here on stream. But if you know what they are, you know what they are.
Yeah, they're quite vulgar.
Well, I know you guys were down to hang out for about an hour or so, but I don't know if we really talked about talking about some of the things that you're up to. But I want to give you guys an opportunity to plug your channel and stuff and things that's going on with First Cut and Late to the Party and everything you're doing individually before we have a wrap up here.
Me first, Ace. You can do Ace. Well, you do Ace.
Yeah, Ace first. I was going to say Ace first.
There you go.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Squad Leader Ace. You could also follow my own personal TikTok now at Squad Leader Ace, which has been weird.
TikTok.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel old, but I'm on there. I did my first review on there. And then TikTok at First Cut TMO as well. We have our own TikTok on there. And then I'm bringing back my Star Wars show as well. Sabak the Block is coming back next week. I'll probably have a good guest on there, so make sure and check that out as well.
What's the first episode about? Is it Star Wars Celebration recap?
Yes, it is. Yeah, probably.
Awesome. All right, Robert, what you got going on?
Vanessa and I are watching old movies. We just watched Rocky Horror Picture Show, Hereditary. We just filmed today our reaction to Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Vanessa's reaction. But yeah, come watch us watch movies of the past for the very first time on the channel, Late to the Party. Just Google it. You'll see it.
Yeah. Well, we got lots of things going on. Every week you can see a video and also an uploaded audio from Reels, like the first time, hosted by Allison Salamoni. Robert's familiar. It's Back to School. What was the name of the movie?
Back to School.
It was Back to School.
Wait,
okay,
you don't know Back to School? You need to watch Back to School.
No, you know what's funny? It's how often I see the posts that for Allison's show on here,
sure.
And I'm like 90% of I haven't seen it.
Danny Elfman did the score for Back to School, and this is Burton, Batman, Pee-wee's Big Adventure energy, Danny Elfman, and he's in the movie with Oingo Boingo. Check out Back to School. It's great.
Also, speaking of Allison, something in the works. It's kind of in the early stages right now. Plus, she's been sick for a couple weeks, so send her messages of love. I think her voice has kind of gone out, her throat's a mess, and all that stuff. But me and Allison Allison and I, to be proper, might be working on a fun little short form audio podcast here, just talking about kind of things like we did today, like influential movies, and just picking a single topic and then recording for about 10-15 minutes. Nice digestible little bits for you guys that'll be on our podcast. So check us out. You can find Flick and Reel on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and most of the places that you listen to your audio podcasts. But that's one of the things we have going on. Obviously, random trailer reactions. We got these shows every Friday. We're trying to get News and Views, our weekly recap show, back on Saturdays. Got to get Chris Anthony Lopez and Scott Fox back on their grind in business. But I've had a lot of fun having you guys on here. Thanks for coming and just hanging out Friday night. It's one of my favorite things to do at the end of the week. Just kick back, relax, and not do something that's overly structured or scheduled. But I had a lot of fun.
It helps us process the week, I feel, like everything that came out over the week. So I enjoy it. Thank you.
You guys are both welcome anytime. This is just kind of what it is. Just lay back, talk movies, and get to talk about stuff that, I don't know, that you don't talk about all the time. So, you're not forced to talk about Star Wars or react to anything. You just sit back, chit chat, and have a good time. But anyways, for anyone that caught us live, thank you so much. And if you catch us on the rewatch, we appreciate you. It's been a blast. And until next time, keep it real. Bye-bye.